G'day guys, how are we? That's good. Okay, you ready? God is good and all the time. Cool, thanks. Now, the theme of today's youth service is how we can rely on God's strength in our times of weakness and how his power can be magnified in these times. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm Mitchell and I'm a follower of Jesus, and I'm also a hospital social worker, and so I thought I'd kind of speak about my work and how that relates to this theme. So I spent most of last year and this year in Hobart and Glenorchy as a community social worker through the hospital. And so that would just involve going into people's homes, doing home visits and talking through, I guess, some difficult issues, and that'd be medium-term kind of case management. Since September, I've been in the hospital in the Rapid Assessment Medical Unit, which is a gen med ward which has about 24 beds, and it's usually about a 2 to 3 day stay, so they're really trying to pump them out. And I'm often having to fight off doctors because they're really annoying despite being good at what they do. And so in my time at the Royal, I think I've seen approximately about 300 different patients/clients with varying issues and challenges that they all face and actively face. Some of the common issues that I encounter are probably homelessness, drug and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, child and elder abuse, poor mental health and suicidality, delirium and dementia, significant physical health issues and many other things. So I mean, just having one of those issues is often a very difficult thing to experience and can cause a lot of strain on somebody's life. But a lot of the people that I'm working with have multiple of these issues and experiences, and as you can imagine, that can lead people to feeling extremely low and having, not a great time in life, to be honest. And so in their times of significant hardship and weakness, many can fall into, I guess, behaviours and attitudes that can make things worse for them. They can tend to lean on their own strength and their own understanding of what can get them through or make them feel better in that time. And I should also just acknowledge that in that, I think society can often look down on these people. We can often label them as this or that, or often not very nice things. But I just really want to emphasise that in every patient I've really seen an incredible sense of resilience and motivation. A motivation to do better and to be better for themselves and others, with many attempting to seek some form of joy in amongst the significant difficulties that they face. They really are some incredible people out there that are truly just doing it tough and are simply just trying to do the best that they know how to. I just wish that in these moments I was allowed to let these people know that they can lean on Jesus in these times, that he has such significant power and strength to be able to do and get through any trial that we face. As we saw with that awesome play earlier with David and Goliath, God used David, a young man who was of no nobility, had inferior fighting ability, and was nowhere near equal to the size of Goliath. David in his own strength would never have been able to defeat the far superior fighter in Goliath, and yet he leaned on God and defeated him. God helped David, comforted him in his weakness, and provided him with the strength to do what God had planned. The story is a fantastic example of God's power and strength being magnified through weakness. God's strength, love and mercy can be brought further into the light in times of weakness. At the last youth service, we had a time where us young people came up with a few questions that we all asked you, which was a lot of fun. We had Joe last year running around with a mic, I think, so that was good on him. So we're going to do that again this time. And that's also just a recognition that we're still learning and growing and developing, and we'd love to hear from you guys who have much more experience and knowledge and wisdom. So again, we've come up with some questions, and they should be on everyone's tables, I believe, at the moment. And so I'll get Matilda up with me at the moment. And so we'll ask you these questions, maybe have a discussion for a bit, and then we'll kind of try and pick one or two of you who want to have a chat and give us a summary of what you've spoken about.
I'll go for a run around.
Oh, go for it. Do you want to give it the first one?
Yeah, so the first question we've got today is, in what ways do stories like David and Goliath demonstrate God's power in human weaknesses? And can you point to any other Bible stories that also do that? So have a chat with your group and I'll come and find you in there in a couple of minutes. Alrighty, I might bring it back now and get a couple of answers from some groups around the room. If anyone has something to say, if you wouldn't mind maybe popping your hand up and I'll come around with a mic or something. Otherwise, I'm going to start choosing people at random. So, anyone? Oh, lovely. Okay.
We said basically for any other stories was the Bible. Anytime there's a person involved, is usually they're being very people-like and needing God's power. Like people like Samson and most of the judges, and even Jonah running away. So lots of things like that. So yeah, just showing God's power in being with us when things get tough and we don't do the things we should, but God's still with us and we can try to do the right things even if they might not work out.
That's awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, lovely.
I thought of Gideon, how he wanted to go out and he had this big army, but the Lord kept telling him, no, it's too many. Get rid of. And he got down to this really small number, but then he went out and did what the Lord wanted.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Do we have any in Lena Valley at all?
Yeah. Putting you on the spot a bit, guys, but...
We do. We have people who are ready to answer. Annette's always ready to have an answer.
Sorry, there were different people. Those that, it's all right, going. I said Paul because I felt that he often was in positions where, like being shipwrecked and as a prisoner, and in his weakness, he came through. He was stoned, and there was just so many times that he saw himself.
Paul was stoned. Okay, that's a shame. We're going to pass back to you guys.
It was a shame, wasn't it? Okay, we might move on to question 2 now. So have a chat with your group and we'll chat about why it's hard for us to admit our weaknesses, even though it's a pathway to experiencing God's power. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Alrighty, let's get into it. Does anyone have something to share with the group? Again, I'm going to be calling on people.
What's that, Matt Knibber? Did you...
How about this lovely group over here?
We said, hang on, put my glasses on. Admitting you're weak means being vulnerable to other people, and that's hard. And society wants you to be strong, like seen as strong. So, yeah.
Thank you, Louise. Yes, I just first named my mother.
Thank you. I think basically it's pride. We discussed on our table, we don't want to become vulnerable. And I think for me, originally when I became a Christian, before I became a Christian, I was very independent and I could manage because I had to. And then there came a time that I couldn't manage, and I realized that I needed to ask for help. And I find it still hard because I still am quite capable. And I think the original sin is pride, and we talked about it around the table, didn't we? And we sort of all agreed about that. It's hard to be vulnerable because people might take it the wrong way, or they kind of judge. And so that's what we decided.
So a great sense of pride being a barrier and also needing to be vulnerable, I think, is the theme so far. Is there anyone else or anyone at Lena Valley at all?
It's also very much what is modelled to us, I think. The whole fake it till you make it thing means that we don't see people struggle, and I'm the only person in my head who can see my mess.
That's a good point.
Lovely. Thank you for your wonderful answers, everyone. Okay, so our next one we're going to chat about is how we can invite God to use our weaknesses for his glory just in our day-to-day lives. So have a little chat, come up with some ideas on what we could possibly do. And okay, everyone seems sufficiently distracted, so let's pop into it. We might jump over to Lenna Valley and see if anyone has anything over there to add.
To the the earlier question, and it was sometimes our weaknesses can actually be a disadvantage if it turns the opposite. In our strength, we can think we can do everything ourselves, and God will let us try that, and then He'll help us then if we turn to him.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of feedback here, but I hope you heard that.
Lovely. Thank you, Matt and the gang over there. I'm going to just pop around to some people here and we'll get some more answers.
Maggie dobbed me in. I think if we share verbally with someone else our weakness, if we have the opportunity, it may be an encouragement to them. They may feel they're the only one who had that weakness, and it's encouragement to them.
Definitely, we have strength in numbers, don't we?
Yeah, thank you. I think the song that Chelsea that you sang before, really the heart of what that is part of it, really, acknowledging that it's okay to be weak. If we acknowledge that, then we got more chance of actually receiving God's strength to allow it to work through us. The other thing I think about there is that another person has an opportunity to bring their strength to match our weakness, which is an opportunity for them to be blessing us and God's power working through them.
Awesome. Are we on to question 4, is it?
We are.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So how does acknowledging our weaknesses make us more compassionate towards others? Give that a chat. So what's everyone's thoughts on that? How does acknowledging our weaknesses make us more compassionate toward others?
I'm quoting Sam, but if you own and acknowledge your weakness, we all have them, and we know we all have them. And if you can lead by example to other people by being vulnerable, it actually shows how strong you are, because the world is full of people that are faking that they're fine, but we know that everyone's got their stuff. So if you're willing to be open with the fact that you're not all together, I think a lot of people look at you with envy of how strong you are as a person to be open and fully who you are.
Boom.
Slay, Emily. That was amazing. Anyone else?
Any Lena Valley?
When we're weak and we fail and we succumb to some of the stuff that we don't want to succumb to, other people are the same. And we can show compassion because we know if we don't have those experiences that other people in the world don't experience, how can we be a light in the darkness? We've got to be able to show compassion that way so that we know what they're feeling.
Absolutely. Rightio. Thank you, everyone, for your lovely answers. We'll quickly
Awesome.
move on.
I think we've got one at Lena Valley.
Sorry.
I do think we've got one more from Lena Valley. Is that? Yep. Thank you. Over to Anne.
Okay, because I think if we're not, it does come back to being aware that everybody has their weaknesses, but if we admit our own, then hopefully it makes us a little bit more patient with other people's weaknesses and allow them some grace in the same way we would want them to allow us some grace.
Back to you guys.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our last little discussion question. So, how can we as a church encourage one another to rely on God's strength when facing our struggles? Have a chat. Alrighty, let's bring it back in, church. Does anyone have anything for me?
Prayer.
That is right. Thank you, Sophie. You're amazing. Anyone else?
Danny was just saying that, like, we need to be able to share our testimony and share when God has used our weakness. So be a bit more open about it as well.
Absolutely. Did I see a hand over here too?
You did. Summation from our table, one was, it goes back to the previous question, understanding where people are at and in their journey. Prayer also, and quiet time, certainly for me, in solitude, and just and encouraging others to do that. And also in the Bible, in the stories of God helping people in their weakness. There's so many stories, as we touched on earlier.
Thank you, Phil. That was a beautiful sum up of...
So, in addition to those, we also said to, if you're praying for people, let them know that you're praying for them, so that they know that, one, that other people care about their situation, but also then know that God's involved, so it's sort of help them focus that way as well.
It was worth a try. Awesome. Well, I think that's our question time. So thank you so much, guys, for all answering and you know, giving us a better idea of how to be vulnerable and how to let God show His strength in our weakness.